Hello and good morning, South Bend. I do appreciate you joining me this morning and us. I have my counterparts, Tara Cowham and Allison Schlofelt with me, and they'll kind of bop in as they have questions. As anyone has questions, we'll kind of get those brought to my attention, so they're in the background. But I do want to thank you again for coming out, and today we're going to be talking about how we transition to hybrid learning. This is going to be our Q2 model. And so just kind of first thing we need to do is just kind of take a deep breath, just kind of breathe in, breathe out. You do have supports. We're all here together to help you. So we'll take it day by day. And I know even with Q1, we said that we would have mercy and we would show grace. And that is going to be the theme that does continue as we transition to hybrid learning. Before we begin, I do want to give a special shout out to all of the DIS at the elementary level for their contributions on this, and a special shout out to Mel Meyer, Barb Sequin, Holly Swartz, and Jen Van Haver for their follow-up from our conversations. So again, special shout out to those four, as well as all of the elementary DIS. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So as we look at transitioning to hybrid learning, all of these slides will be sent to you. We're going to share them with your principals, so you will have access to this after the presentation this morning. Here's our outline of what we're going to be discussing today. And so we'll start with our calendar. So this may be a little hard to see. I'm just going to highlight some of the need to know dates. The first thing we have obviously is today is October 5th. So we have our PL that is taking place right now. And this week, our goal is that all students will be doing asynchronous e-learning lessons. This is just going to kind of help us get caught up as we wind down our first 9 weeks, with grades being due teacher record day October 9th, and then with fall break October 12th and 13th. So this is going to be our catch up, kind of easing into our hybrid learning. October 14th, we have all SPED services start, all grades in Group A. We'll begin synchronous or in-person instruction, and then Group B will be at home. And then we switch on October 15th for Group B, coming into the buildings, in-person instruction, and then Group A will be doing their e-learning. So we do have some time to build in. I know a couple of you have reached out already asking about future PL opportunities. And on Fridays, we send out the newsletter. Tara Cowham has done a fabulous job about hosting those PLs. And if there are any questions, on Fridays about 3:33, 3:34 is when our e-learning newsletter comes out. So pay attention to those, watch for those if you have additional questions throughout as we're going through this process together. As we look at transitioning back, some key things that we need to keep in mind is it is going to be difficult and could cause stress for some. So that is why, as students do transition back into the building, we need to be mindful about establishing those routines. Essentially it's their first time in the building. So we do have to, masks up, talk about the importance of masks, the social distancing, room setup. Again, those are going to be key. It's just going to be like the first day of school during like a normal school year. So just really be mindful about getting those routines established with your students. Focus on those SEL activities. Again, we are going to be building community and trying to tie in those students that are not able to join live, obviously being in that different group, as well as those students who'd have selected e-learning for the time being. So just be mindful. Best thing you can do is just create those asynchronous lessons for those students that are home and keep them manageable, because you have to keep in mind that, yes, I'm going to have students in class. So trying to balance everything, the more manageable that you can make those lessons online for your students, the better things should go for you. Also, pay attention to those e-learning guidelines that have already been in place. Provide any recorded instruction to those students, and then all lessons and related materials must be able to be accessed digitally on your LMS. So again, even though you are going to be having students back in class, my recommendation is just keep everything up to date with your LMS. Not only as you keep it up to date on your LMS, but also one suggestion might be to have your Google Classroom maybe go by the day. That way, in case everything's just kind of there when you create a new stream, just have it be by the day. Also, if you do have any questions or comments regarding your Google Classroom, please access your DIS. I know a few people have reached out, again, just kind of getting that flow going within their Google Classroom. But again, utilize your DIS if you are having any issues. Another thing to be mindful of is just take into consideration some of our students' considerations. We know that parents are eager to go back to work as their students are in school on those days, but on those days that they're not in school, it could be an older sibling that is watching the student. Students may not have reliable access to the internet, and also some students are not going to be able to attend all of the live sessions. So again, that is why we're going to keep up with updating, recording your lessons, and putting them onto your Google Classroom. And as we do get back into school, it is very important that you work with your special education, speech, and your ELL staff to ensure that all the ILPs, IEPs, 504s, and whatever else are being met. General guidelines to help with your instruction is just kind of keep things to about 10 minutes on your instruction time. That's just going to be best and help you be more manage things a little bit easier. When students are in your classroom, use that in-person time for small group or one-on-one instruction. We know that as students are coming in, that's going to be the time that we can kind of help bridge some of those gaps, is by focusing on that small group or even that one-on-one small group time. Focus more on feedback and less on grading. The students, as they are coming back to you, they're going to get more by actually, okay, you have you have those students that are going to be in. So, again, just with that one-on-one, provide them the feedback with how they were doing, help bridge those gaps. Clear routines and schedules are going to be extremely important. So during live Google Meets, as well as during virtual collaboration. Again, I see a comment about, as a hybrid teacher, recording lessons. Record your live instruction while you're teaching the whole group, and then you can post that onto your LMS. So yes, with this hybrid, it is going to be online because you are going to have students in the classroom, as well as needing to get content to students that are e-learning and not on those days. So one idea you can also have is provide instructions for students as they are in the building to teach your students on how to take pictures of their work. And then that way, it helps break up the screen time. We still want to be conscious of using that screen fatigue or students not being fatigued. And then also make sure that your students do have access to all the materials that they are going to need, whether you post that through the LMS, whether you send home some paperwork, but do keep in mind that there are going to be students that don't come into the buildings to get that work. So just be mindful. With technology, focus on tools that are multi-purpose. And again, utilize your DIS. They are there to help you. They are there to provide you with different strategies and to guide you along, as well as we are down here. When it comes to your videos, keep in mind that you want to increase the upload and download time, is just shorten the length of your recorded direct instruction. So again, if you kind of have that 10-minute focus, that should kind of help. You can also do some editing within QuickTime if you need to. But again, if you just kind of have those 10-minute chunks, that will help with the uploading time. Think about tech as students are in the room. So again, if you are holding that live Google Meet, it's going to be beneficial for your students to have headphones in, and as well as to students possibly being active on the same Google Meet, the same room. definitely keep track of how to mute and unmute the volume on the Chromebook. So when we come to Wednesdays, since everybody will be e-learning on Wednesdays, that's essentially the same thing we have been doing to help build and promote that SEL lessons, holding group meetings, doing a theme for the day. You can have like a Spirit Wednesdays instead of Spirit Weeks. Freya or Friend, whole group slide decks, and then also Kahoot and some other resources, Quizlet, Gimmick it for you as well. As students are coming back, we would need to provide them time for students to get caught up on their work. I know there are some that it's very hard to get those students, so hopefully they do come back into the building. If not, keep trying to get them caught up on the work. Engage with online programs and games, and then meet one-to-one. It's very important that we establish those relationships with students as they are coming back into the building. Collaborate. Cannot stress this one enough. Collaboration with your grade level, going even outside of your building, is going to be huge to help you utilize and gain some information and some new skills and ideas to see what else is out there for you. And always meet with your DIS. So now we're going to get into our hybrid teaching instruction. There are 3 different methods that we're going to be discussing. We have the parallel learning, the flipped schedule, and those of you that are full-time e-learning. So these are going to be, again, like I said, they are, these are going to be some strategies. It is up to you which one you feel most comfortable with. You know your students a little bit already. You're going to be able to be the one that knows what is going to work best for you. So in no way am I saying you have to use flipped schedule, you have to use parallel learning. As we go through them, keep in mind about you and your class and see what is going to work best for you. As we talk about parallel learning, well, what is parallel learning? It's classrooms that are going to be teaching lessons in the class face-to-face, as well as virtual students at the same time. So here's what parallel learning looks like. The teacher is going, for the large group, is going to post all needed materials onto the Google Classroom. Teacher, you can lead a short or large class instruction, and then record the instruction and place it on the LMS. When it comes time for independent practice, the teacher is going to post the needed materials to the LMS. Online and the in-person students are going to engage with the independent learning tasks, similar to what they have been doing now. And then this allows the teacher to respond to questions asked both in person and online. It also allows the teacher to meet with in-person students following the social distancing guidelines. And then collaborative work, teachers will be able to create collaborative work utilizing digital tools for both the asynchronous and synchronous work, regardless of where students are. And again, just as we look at what's going on with in-person students as well as the online students during what this parallel learning looks like, your in-person students are going to be participating in short or in large class instruction. All of the needed materials will be on the LMS. That way, it allows for your online students to access live Google Meet, or they can watch the recorded video later. All the needed materials are already on the LMS, and they can join the Google Meet from their computer for the direct instruction. When we talk about independent practice under the parallel learning, the independent learning tasks, digital art paper, students can ask teacher questions verbally. The online students can then engage with the learning tasks. All the materials are already on the LMS, and then the students can send questions digitally. When we focus on our small group, in person, obviously, small group, that one-on-one is where we're going to get a lot of bang for our buck. So during that time, you are encouraged to meet with your students, keeping in mind the social distancing guidelines. Your online students, they can also meet one-on-one with you using Google Meet while others are doing their independent work. Online students can join their established small groups via Google Meet. Collaborative work. Obviously, if they are in person, they can work collaboratively following social distance guidelines using digital tools. That way, as we have the access to Google, the collaboration can be there right within a document, within a slide, the Edu protocols, Iron Chef, various strategies there that students can get online and in person and still maintain that social distance. Those online students are going to work with other online students or in-person students using digital apps or tools. So like I said, if you do have those students, or if you do something like the Edu protocols where you do the Iron Chef, that would be a great way to tie in your students who are at home with the students that are in class to help kind of build those connections. So just an example of a way of what this parallel lesson progression looks like as we do the I do, you do, we do. The teacher is going to do the mini lesson modeling. The students in class are going to observe in person. Students online will observe either during the live Google Meet or the recorded Google Meet. And then the you do, camera, mic, Google Meet, and then questions and answers. So again, as you kind of see this throughout, everything is broken down to help give you ideas and strategies for how to use the parallel lesson progression. We also are going to have, we'll get to eventually the lesson plan templates that are out there. So again, that's going to be your choice. You know you the best, you know your students. So you are going to select what's going to work best for you. When we take a look at the next strategy is a flipped schedule. And this is where classrooms that will teach lessons to Group A on Monday and Tuesday. And then you're going to repeat the lessons with Group B on Thursday and Friday. So what that is going to look like is Group A is going to come in. You're going to have face-to-face instruction day 1 on Monday and Tuesday, and then day 2 on Tuesday. Your Group B students who are at home will have a general practice on slides or the standards being taught. And then everybody on Wednesday will meet and work on e-learning lessons together. And then as we switch and get ready for that Group B, again, you're going to have that face-to-face instruction day 1, what you taught on Monday. And then you're going to have that face-to-face instruction from Friday that you taught on Tuesday. So what that looks like, if we look at the flip schedule, the teacher is going to introduce those lessons that focus on the priority standards to Group A on Monday and Tuesday, and then Group B on Thursday and Friday. Teacher is going to focus on having one-on-one or small group instruction, and then students and teacher are going to be reviewing work, providing feedback, reteaching, clarify teaching, or providing enrichment to those students as they are face-to-face. The online instruction, again, all work is going to be posted on the LMS or your teacher site. Online students are going to be working on asynchronous learning tasks. This will allow them to communicate with the teacher through digital methods, email, Google Classroom, etc. And then on Wednesday, the class will work together with the teacher on online work. For those students full-time e-learning, classrooms that are going to be completely virtual, and that is the same thing that we have been doing. So we have that full-time e-learning classroom, the discussion in the large group. Teacher is going to post all the materials onto the LMS. Teacher may lead a short or a large class instruction on the Google Meet, record the instruction, and place it onto the LMS online. Independent practice, the teacher is going to post practice activities and is available to students digitally. One-on-one small group, the teacher will meet with students via the Google Meet and also lead small group lessons. Teacher will post the recordings for absent students. So again, just like what we have been doing, any live instruction that's taking place, record it and then upload it, because there's still maybe some students that we're not able to do it during the school day. The collaborative work, the teacher is going to create a collaborative work utilizing digital tools for both the asynchronous and the synchronous work, regardless of the location. So what are students going to be doing during the e-learning? Well, they're going to be joining live via Google Meet. It can be streamed on the teacher's computer, or they can watch a recorded video at a later date. All the items are going to be posted on the LMS. The independent practice, students will engage with learning tasks. All needed materials will be posted to the LMS, and students can send questions digitally. Small group, again, meet with one-on-one with teacher using Google Meet. While others are doing independent work, online students will join their established small group. In collaborative work, again, using those digital tools, students can do slides, they can do a document, and collaborate together on those things. So as I said, here are some lesson plan templates. And when you get this, when you click on the template, it will force you into a preview. And then if you like the template that is shown, you can just use the template and you'll have that. So here we have one for blended instruction. Another hybrid basic lesson plan. Again, we focus on the instructional sequence. What are my in-person components? What are the computer-based components? We have another blended learning lesson plan template. And again, all of these are just utilized for what best tailors to you. We are not telling you have to do one thing or another. It is going to be based upon what you feel most comfortable with and what you feel is going to work with your students. So again, after this PL presentation, the link for this will be shared with your principals, and then that way you can get access to those. So you're going to have those templates there for you. A lot of lesson plan choices. And again, these are just going to be used to help you plan and keep in mind, how am I going to reach students that are not in my class? So again, this is just to help you get your thought process down and out there to help you reach those students and to see what works for you the best. Choice board and station rotation. So when we talk about our choice board, this was one of mine that I liked, the tic-tac-toe, where students all start with number 5, this is what you must do. And then students can make 2 other choices in order to get their 3 in a row. So that way it's up to the students. And that might even be one that is great for your in-person when you are doing that one-on-one instruction or small group instruction. If you do utilize the choice board, students that are at their desks, hey, this is your choice board. You need to do this while I'm meeting with my group or my one-on-one students. So again, you'll have these options available to you. Keep in mind of keeping virtual office or drop-in hours that are going to be throughout the week to help answer questions. We will send that schedule to you soon again. We're not going to wait until Friday to have that schedule sent to you. We'll do one sooner, but then also we will have things for the future being sent out on those Fridays and those e-learning newsletters that are sent at around 3:33. If you need more direct assistance, please utilize your DIS. And then again, just this work would not have been possible without the efforts of the DIS, teachers, the curriculum and instruction team. We do value you. We appreciate your expertise. And we are going to open up to questions at this time.
Hi, everybody. I know there's been a lot of questions that are going on in the chat. So if you would like to start posting some of your questions, we will address those. And I also just wanted to clarify that there are different models or strategies that you can choose from. And so if you look at the flipped model and the parallel model, Chase, help me out with the terminology. I'm so sorry if I'm messing that up. That those are for mainly for the teachers who are going to be having students who are in cohort A and cohort B, and then if there are e-learning students who are mixed into those groups. That full-time e-learning, that last strategy, that last model that was shown, those are for the schools that have basically decided that or have the ability to have 100% e-learning classrooms or groups set up. So, you know, every school is different. Chase, if you want to explain a little bit more, there's been some questions about the confusion between the three different models.
Okay. So with the parallel learning, you know, again, this is just going to be probably a good chunk of us, of the teachers, where they are going to be having face-to-face instruction, as well as being responsible for their students virtually that are either in that group B who are e-learning. That's what this parallel learning is. So again, as you are mindful of having both, how am I doing groups, class students that are in my classroom, as well as how am I going to be reaching my students who are online e-learning, my group B. This was a method for that. And as I went through, you know, already, I mean, just kind of keeping mindful, you know, hey, the more stuff that I can utilize and put into my Google Classroom, that's just going to help you tremendously, just knowing that everything's still in one place and we're still keeping things simplified. Yes, there are going to be students in person, but as I mentioned, those students that are in person, that one-on-one, that small group time is going to be very crucial and very valuable to you. So then when we talk about the flip schedule, so again, that's going to be classrooms that are teaching students in person and e-learning. But the classrooms that you are teaching on Monday, Group A on Monday and Tuesday, you're going to repeat those same lessons from Monday and Tuesday on Thursday and Friday. So what that's going to look like, again, is you're going to have your face-to-face instruction on day 1 and 2 on Monday and Tuesday, while your students who are in that Group B is, again, you just want to get them some general practice on slides of the standards that you currently are working on. So for example, if I'm teaching 5th grade and I'm into fractions, you know, you could have a Google slide of fractions that they can access online while you are doing that face-to-face instruction. And again, keeping in mind that this is allowing me to do that small group, that one-on-one, that individual instruction with my students that are with me.
So Chase, I'm going to give some examples of how I would run these types of classrooms, just to kind of maybe clear out some of the questions in the chat. Okay. So if I were doing hybrid, and you can leave this slide up actually, I would focus on like different lessons every day so that I do move through the curriculum. However, I would make time on Monday, Tuesday with my cohort A to have in-person small group time while I pre-recorded or found videos online to give my direct instruction to both my in-person and my e-learning students, because that way they're getting the same content material. So I would maybe pre-record those or find those videos ahead of time and then utilize my face-to-face time on Monday, Tuesday with cohort A and Thursday, Friday to just make sure that my students are understanding, getting the extra support they need, etc. And then I would definitely have check-in times with my students, my e-learning, full-time e-learning students on Wednesday, because as the people in the chat are saying that you're teaching full-time Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So you may have to kind of rely on emails and things like that with those students, or set up a flip grid and be like, have questions today? Send this question in the flip grid and I'll answer it when I can or at the end of the day. But Wednesday, I would definitely have a office hour of some sort to check in with all of those e-learning kids to provide the extra support that they need as well. So I want to have the same lesson plans 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and 2 days, Thursday, Friday. I would continue moving my curriculum along by having that direct instruction pre-recorded and spending my in-class time working one-on-one or small groups with those students. Hopefully that kind of helps answer some of those.
Any other questions?
There are some questions about teaching, who will be teaching what students. And what I can tell you is that you'll have to talk with your administration. Again, everyone's teaching situation is a little bit different with what, how many kids may be 100% e-learning, how many kids are going to be in your room with you. So if you have questions about your particular building, then you would need to direct those to your administration. Some people are asking about when they could do pre-recorded lessons. Do you have any tips and strategies for that, Chase?
Pre-recorded, I mean, you know, just since we are keeping in mind that it is just going to be 10 minutes time, you know, I mean, just kind of keep that time length in mind. You know, I mean, you don't have to go through and have a whole half an hour session to do a pre-recorded. You can do pre-recorded just when you do have that time. I mean, if you want to have, and just kind of keep in mind too, that if there is a particular thing that you do want to work on, I mean, it doesn't even need to be 10 minutes. Like if we can do a 5-minute lesson, get that cranked out, get that on the LMS. And then that way, then you can provide that practice to students. So. I see Chelsea asked the question, are speech services still being provided on asynchronous days? That should be. You again, keep in mind the ILP, IEP. I mean, if they still need that time on those days, then it will still need to be provided. Christina asking, I might have missed this, but on Wednesdays are live with our kids. So on Wednesdays, that's just going to be how we have been rolling out with like the first quarter, because on Wednesdays, everyone's going to be doing e-learning. So what you can do, Christina, is that would be a time where you can hold those Google Meets, whole class, and you can have whole class collaboration. You can get everybody together and on the same page during that time. So. Any other questions? You're on mute, Allison.
I'm actually going to answer Jennifer Thomas's question. That I was in the classroom for a few years, and I ran the flipped model almost the entire time. And while we were not in a pandemic doing hybrid learning of any kind, I did flip my entire classroom so that my students got my direct instruction before they attended my class. And then they came in and we worked solely on small group stuff, reteaching, expansion projects, things like that. So I have done the flip model for a lot of years.
Someone had just said that, you know, relying on other teachers. And I would say that that would be a really good strategy as well. You know, as we work together and become, you know, a larger community, you know, you don't have to just work with the teachers at your school. You could work with teachers at other schools who are in the same grade or teach the same material that you teach. So, you know, this would be a time that you can extend that professional learning network of yours and think about ways that that kind of cooperation would help with your teaching strategies.
So again, just utilizing your professional learning networks. I mean, if you're teaching third grade, collaborate with your other third grade team member or members and just kind of say, hey, let's work together. How can we do this? You can divide up. Hey, if you do, a recorded lesson, you can share recordings. Even as what Tara mentioned, if you're going online and posting something from Khan Academy or YouTube, what better way than to have somebody else that's already in the building, if they already have something recorded, hey, I can collaborate, we can get this together, that can be posted. That way it's not fully relying on just one individual to get everything done. You have those grade level team members that you can count on. That would be my advice. And even if you are creating online work, hey, I got on Google Slides, I created this drag and drop, we're working on multiplication. Hey, would you want this for your class? Sweet. We can share that out. We can collaborate. We can share together as teachers. And again, as been brought up, if you know teachers that are at other buildings, same thing. Reach out to them. Hey, I'm kind of struggling with, addition. What have you found works for your kids, first grade? You can definitely utilize other school buildings, see what's working, see what's out there as we do go through this process. And again, that's why I started at the start. Grace is going to be shown. This is new. We are in this together. You have a lot of supports that are going to be built in place. We're going to be offering additional professional learning. So we're in this together. So we need to be a team and not so confrontational through this process. We know that it is a lot that has not been done before. But again, we are asking for grace. We are asking for some patience as we all navigate this together.
There are some people who are throwing in some really good ideas that Heather had said that she had flipped her first grade classroom and she worked a lot with students with reviewing content, and she used a lot of outside materials. Like Chase said, you can rely on each other on your team to create that content versus getting it from outside sources. But a flipped model, when we are thinking about one-on-one time, we all know that that's small group and one-on-one is where we can get a lot of learning done with students who really need that help, and it is possible. It may take a little bit of time to get your students used to this model, but everything is so new right now that if that's something that you're leaning toward, then I would start to build in those routines as soon as the students start to come back and you're focusing on routine building and some of those, SEL lessons. But that would be a good time to kind of establish what it looks like to work independently and then work in small group and one-on-one. Okay, so there is a question about how do you record while you're using your computer during a lesson? And that would be best. You can do that with your DIS. Your DIS would be able to help you because it really just depends on what it is that you're using your computer for. But we do have built in, like, for example, screen time. You can do a screen recording. There are also lots of different tools that you can use to record while you're teaching. So we can't specifically answer that question for you, but I would say ask your DIS because your DIS would be able to help you with those more specific questions about what it is that you'd like to record. Some people are asking some questions about time management, and I would say that, again, everyone's classroom looks really different. Everyone's, teaching style is very different. But some of those ways that you can record those videos is if you think about, keeping them to around less than around 15 minutes, right? Between 10, 20 minutes, but you're not recording big, long videos. Instead, you're recording smaller ones. Then you could record while you're instructing and then edit those videos quickly and put them onto the LMS. You could, record 5-minute videos of yourself teaching. You can embed those into a Google slide. So there are lots of different ways that you can record while you are instructing. And I would reach out to your digital integration specialist, and they can work with you and think about some methods that will work with some tools that will work for you. Yeah, you can record. Someone has said you can record during a Google Meet as well. Correct. There is a great question from Emily Beck that says, how do we account for the safety of online students in regard to preventing other students from, basically just being poor digital citizens? I would say that this would be a great opportunity to teach digital citizenship to your students. If we work through some of those wonderful resources that we have available to us, then this would be a really good teachable moment for them and teach them how to be good digital citizens in our changing world. There is a question about shortening learning into 10 minutes. So there is a lot of research that shows that the attention span for cognitive overload, that the ideal time would be anywhere from, well, for videos, our attention span is 2 to 3 minutes. But for learning, we find that typically what happens is about a 10-minute window of our attention. And so what I would say is, when you think about instruction, breaking up into different pieces. So if you slim that down, and instead of recording, and working through the entire lesson, you take each step of that lesson. And when you are recording it, you're making it into what we call chunks, right? So less than 10 minutes. And then also, if students miss something or need to review something, it's much easier for them to go back through and look through a shorter video than it is for them to go back through a video that may be 20 minutes long. So, those kind of 5-minute, 10-minute videos are a lot more useful to students for their learning and for their review than anything that goes beyond that.
Is there anything else I missed, Karen?
And I just want to say, again, a lot of you, this is a very, very trying time on everyone, on students, on parents and guardians, on teachers, on the whole community. And we understand that, everyone is in very unique situations. And what I would say is, if you have specific questions, reach out to your administrator, talk it through with them, think about how you can, rely on your team. But what we need to also just take into consideration is that, nothing right now is ideal. We all want to be back in school with our students the way that we're used to, but unfortunately, due to the way the world is right now, it's not possible. So, if we focus on those priority standards and we, think about what's going to work best, then slowly work our way through that. Nothing is going to be perfect the first time that we do it. And so, it's going to take time. I understand that, but, we also need to just give ourselves a break and, just remind ourselves that this is all new, and you're going to have some triumphs and you might have some pitfalls, and we may stumble through things together, but the point is to keep moving forward.
And again, with the schedule, the way it is, we know that when students do come back for that first round, we're going to have our pre-K and our kindergartners come back on the 7th and 8th. Marquette, your 6th graders aren't going to be back because they've already been in your building. But again, that 7th and 8th, that's going to be the time where you can start establishing those routines. As you do have the littles that are coming into the buildings. And then October 14th, again, is when that first group does come in person. That's going to be the time. You have time to, ask your questions, see what's going to work best for you by the time we get to this model when students are back on October 14th and 15th. Again, yes, you're still going to be going over routines with students that are in the building on those 2 days, but again, it's giving you some time that you can have some questions, you can reach out to your desk, to your admin, to us, and just kind of see, okay, here's my idea. Is this going to work? And you can get those continued tips and strategies to fully help you implement as we move forward with this hybrid learning. Mm-hmm. So Debbie, your question there, how will PowerSchool work for full-time e-learning teachers with new groups? Again, that's going to be on, PowerSchool and how students get rostered through that process.
And we're already working on that.
Yeah.
So our IT guys and our PowerSchool gurus are already working on that part. So it should be all set up for you in terms of those new groups. We do have our secondary professional learning at 10, so we are going to wrap up. One thing I do just want to give a shout out to is we do already have some exemplar examples of how our teachers, elementary teachers, are going to navigate these hybrid waters. We have some awesome learning lesson plan templates and like slide decks of each group that we will be sharing in the e-learning newsletter this coming Friday that Chase talked about. If you have any further questions, your DIS are available and they can reach out as well. And I know they have some awesome office hours available and some awesome PD coming your way at a building level. So thank you, Chase. This was very informative. Yeah, we can wrap up however you want to wrap up.
All right. So, yeah. So, again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help you navigate this process. And so, yeah. So again, I appreciate you taking your time this morning to start your Monday with me, as well as with Allison and with Tara. And I hope you have a great day. All right. Thank you.
Bye. Have a great day.